Greetings and good vibes, everyone. I'm Shelly from Paternity Pros in East Orange, New Jersey, where we provide peace of mind and clarity through accurate and confidential DNA testing. Let's clear up one of the biggest misconceptions in paternity testing, that blood is somehow more accurate than a cheek swab. Now I get it, for years we've been conditioned to think that blood is more accurate, but that's just not true when it comes to paternity testing. From medical exams to a crime scene investigation on TV, blood is usually the star of the show. So naturally, when people hear paternity testing, they have a hard time believing that it could be so simple and accurate at the same time. That's why when clients come in, they hesitate when I pull out the buccal swabs that we use to collect DNA cells from inside the cheek. I've heard everything from, is this going to be accurate, to, I need this for court, don't we need something stronger? In paternity testing, we're not collecting saliva. We're collecting DNA cells from the inside of the cheek. Whether DNA is collected from a blood sample or from a cheek swab, the DNA is the same. And when collected and handled properly, a buccal swab is just as accurate as a blood test, but without the needles, the added cost, or the stress. Now, I don't speak on behalf of any of the accredited labs I work with every day, but they've told me that a cheek swab is the gold standard for DNA testing. And I can tell you this, court-approved paternity tests, family law cases, and government agencies across the country, they accept buccal swabs. Most labs prefer them because they're less invasive and they're easier to store, easier to transport. Since there's no blood involved with a cheek swab, there's no worries about blood-borne diseases. There's no added stress on the infants or children who need testing, and no needles for parents, which matters for a lot of people with needle phobia or anxiety in a medical setting. And they still deliver accurate results when processed correctly. So when someone insists on a blood draw, thinking it's stronger or more legitimate, what they're really doing is adding complexity and costs to a process that already is scientifically sound. In fact, if someone had a recent blood transfusion, their blood might contain mixed DNA, both theirs and the donor's. When I first started in this business, I witnessed an infant get a blood draw after getting a cheek swab. One parent was dissatisfied with the result of the cheek swab, and they wanted to do a blood sample. The result from the cheek swab and the blood sample show the same DNA markers, same numbers, and same outcome. There was no difference with the reports except the date of the collection and the type of sample that was collected. Paternity test results depend on the genetic markers, not whether the sample came from a blood draw or a cheek swab. I had more than one person tell me they'd already wasted money on a blood draw elsewhere before finding out the lab wasn't even accredited for legal testing. Meanwhile, our standard legal test with buccal swabs was faster, cheaper, and court admissible. And no judgment to them, they didn't have the right guidance. But that's why I'm here in this business, and I'll say this clearly. In legal cases, proper identification and careful collection matter way more than whether the sample was collected from your blood or from inside your cheek. At Paternity Pros in East Orange, New Jersey, we use buccal swabs because they're effective, they're painless, and they're recognized by legal systems nationwide. We don't push unnecessary blood draws, especially when a simple cheek swab delivers the same accurate result. But if your case does require a different approach, we'll walk you through it so that you can decide what will give you peace of mind. If a case requires a blood sample, for example, for prenatal paternity testing, or under unique circumstances, we'll walk you through that. Outside of testing paternity for a fetus, the cheek swab is the gold standard for paternity testing. So next time someone tells you a swab isn't enough, just know this: the science is already on your side, and the experts who have studied and approved them disagree. And while this comes from my experience in the field, please remember I am not a doctor or a scientist. This is not legal advice or counseling. If your situation involves legal, medical, or emotional concerns, I always recommend consulting the appropriate professionals. I'm simply here to provide clarity so that you can make informed decisions about your situation without any confusion, fear, or doubt. Until next time, this has been a true story by Paternity Pros.